If you're trying to get a high score in IELTS, you've probably watched videos on YouTube, read books, downloaded materials, and even gone to classes. But there's a problem with doing this, and there are three things that many IELTS preparation students do not have in place. They don't know what to study first. They don't know how to organise themselves, and then they don't know how to track progress. So without a clear study timeline, your progress can be quite chaotic and random. Often not having a good timeline means that you just focus on what's easy, skip the difficult or the boring things like test practice, and end up repeating the same mistakes week after week. And then suddenly the IELTS test day arrives and you're in a bit of a panic because you just feel that you're not properly ready. So in this video, I'd like to show you how to create a really effective timeline for your IELTS preparation. And this timeline is flexible enough whether you need just a short time to focus on your English skills directly related to the test, or whether you need a longer time to actually build your English power first. Keep watching this video to the end and you'll have a timeline that fits your life, your goals, and your daily routine. Let's get started straight away with step number 1. So the first thing you need to do is to define your target and the deadline for that target. 2 questions you need to ask yourself here. Question number 1 is, what band score do I need? And question number 2 is, when do I need to get this result? With the answer to these questions, you can then write out an intention statement. For example, I intend to get a band 7.5 by November the 15th. As a bonus tip on this step, it's also useful to write this intention out, put it on a poster, put it on your wall, make it so that you can see it every day. This will remind you of what you're doing and make it much easier for you to focus on this intention. Once you know what your deadline is, then you also know, of course, how many weeks you have of preparation time and how then you can work out how you're going to use it in the following steps. So, step number 2 is to assess your current position. Try and find out what your likely IELTS score is today, right now. To do this, the simple way is to do a mock test in all 4 sections. So do a mock test in reading, listening, speaking, and writing. If you do not want to purchase one of the Cambridge IELTS test books that they publish, these are books of old IELTS tests. And to be honest, I do recommend that you get one of these books, but yes, they are quite expensive. So if you cannot buy one, here's how you can assess your current position for free. Download the free test sample materials from IELTS.org, and then you can do them for speaking and listening and just check your answers. There is an answer key provided with the download as well. Now, here you might not be doing a full test, but you just multiply if you do one section for listening, you multiply your score by 4 and you will get an estimate of your total score. The same goes with reading. If you just do one reading section, multiply your score by 3 to get an approximate idea of your potential IELTS score in reading. And then, yes, to assess your speaking and your writing, you can use ChatGPT. Basically, all you need to do is upload your essay, your written answer to ChatGPT and ask it to give you an IELTS score. The same with listening, just make a transcript of your listening test and upload that to ChatGPT. Of course, these scores might not be the most accurate scores, but then again, they are not going to be wildly inaccurate either. So they will give you a decent enough starting point. Now, step number 3 is to divide your study time into phases. There are 3 phases that you need to consider here. The first is the foundation phase. In this phase, you work hard to improve your English power. Essentially, your IELTS result will depend on how good your English is. I know this sounds obvious, but really it means that you have to have a good foundation in English vocabulary and English grammar. So it's worth starting there. Phase number 2 is the practice phase, and in this phase you learn the tactics that directly affect your score and apply positive tactics that will leverage your score to the highest level that you can get it. And then the last phase is to do some mock tests. This is what I call the simulation phase. It just gets you test ready, 100% fit for the test day. These 3 phases don't need to be equally distributed in terms of time. Here's how I would suggest you sharing your time out. Spend 40% on the foundation skills, about 30% on your practice phase, and then the last 30% on the simulation phase. And in fact, it will depend on your starting point as well. If you get a low score when you assess your current IELTS level, you'll probably need to spend more time on foundation. However, if you get a high score at the beginning, then you don't need to worry so much about the foundation phase. Now, let's look at a few different timelines to help you. We'll start with a short timeline. So this would be a 1-month timeline. And a 1-month timeline is really good for those of you who are already good at English and you just need to do something to make sure that you are ready to show your IELTS ability to full capacity. In week 1, you can just start with the foundation skills. Try and remember some vocabulary that perhaps you might have forgotten. And then weeks 2 and 3 are all about the practice phase. In these weeks, learn about the important tactics to improve your IELTS scoring ability. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel at this point and watch some of my videos, because there's plenty of tactic videos that you can watch. They're only 10 or 15 minutes long, and you get to know exactly how to do things for each section of IELTS. And then finally, the last week is simulation. Do some mock tests so that you know what the kind of IELTS questions are all about. Let's look at a 3-month timeline now. So 3 months is probably the most likely type timeline that a lot of people are looking at. And if you start at somewhere in the middle, let's say you are around a band 6 and you're trying to improve to band 7 in IELTS, then 3 months is a great timeline to look at. For the first 6 weeks, consider building your foundation. And then weeks 7 to 10, look at practice. 3 weeks is plenty of time to learn all of the key tactics and strategies and practice them so that you can use them in your IELTS test. The last 2 weeks, weeks 11 to 12, that will be your simulation phase. Get hold of some practice IELTS tests and do them and know exactly how you are going to tackle each kind of question. And then the last one is a 6-month timeline. So this is good for those of you who are starting your IELTS preparation a bit lower. In the first 2 months, focus on your foundation. Build your vocabulary especially. Improve your understanding of grammatical structures. Learn about simple and complex structures in grammar. And then in the middle 3 months, that's months 3 to 5, do lots of practice. Again, learn all of the strategies, but don't just learn them, apply them and practice, 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 so you use the strategies without thinking. Finally, in the last month, month number 6, move into the simulation phase and do the mock tests. Step number 3 is the real planning stage of this timeline. Now we move on to step number 4. This is where you set weekly milestones. So again, this is all about your study intentions for the week. Often it's quite difficult to actually know what we can and what we cannot achieve over a 1 month, 3 month or 6 month period. And of course, life events get in the way, so you have to think about and re-evaluate your timeline a little bit. However, in a week, it becomes a bit easier. So when you do your weekly review, and I'm sure a lot of you do this, you think about what's coming up in the week and you work out your to-do list, everything like that. Add your weekly milestone intention for IELTS. It's important that you do 2 things here, that you define the result and you make sure that what you're trying to do is not going to be too heavy so that you feel burdened. Here's a simple example for you. By the end of this week, I will be able to write a clear overview for task 1 writing. Or by week 5, I will have completed 3 practice speaking tests with my cousin. These kind of examples are not too heavy. You'll read them and hopefully you'll think, okay, I can do this. Make sure that your milestones are achievable. Then, when the end of the week comes around, just look at it and check to see if you did achieve the milestone. Step number 5 then is to review and adjust regularly. The fact is, making a timeline over months needs to be changed at times. It's probably impossible that you sit down, write your timeline, and then you have a perfect timeline for the next 3 months. It's all going to happen magically as you wrote on paper. Things just don't work that way, do they? Plans need to be adaptable and flexible, and you need to look at your plan regularly. However, you don't want to obsess about it and look at the thing every day. In my mind, I think just checking your plan every 2 weeks to see if you are ahead of or behind what you set out to do is about right. And here are a couple of questions that will help you assess your progress. Number 1, which skill improved most? Question number 2, what area still needs attention? And question number 3, do I need to adjust my resources? And just remember to stay consistent. Don't give up and keep working on your plan. It's better to do just a little bit consistently rather than a load of hard work and then burn out. So consistency at a certain amount of time that you can do. So there you have it, 5 steps to create a timeline for your IELTS preparation. Let me just review those steps for you. Step number 1, define your goal and deadline. Step number 2, assess your current level in IELTS. Step number 3, divide your timeline into phases, that is foundation, practice and simulation. Step number 4, set milestones every week. And the last step is to review your plan, your timeline regularly at about every 2-week intervals. Let me know in the comment section, do you have a timeline for IELTS? How much time do you think you need to prepare for IELTS? And also, if you do have any questions about this timeline, let me know in the comment section as well. Remember to subscribe to the IELTS Breakthrough YouTube channel because there are loads of videos that will help you to improve your IELTS score. And in fact, why not check out this next video? We're talking about IELTS preparation, and I do have the IELTS vocabulary builder which you use in ChatGPT. This video explains how you can get free access to the vocabulary builder. All you need to do is just click a link. So check that video out now. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, week, weekend, whatever you're doing. I will see you in the next one.